Welcome back to Holy Living with Huff and Sal. I'm Huff.
I'm Sal.
She's Sal. Hi-oh.
Why do you always do that?
That's why you put your hand up. Hi-oh. Kermit
Okay.
Frog reporting for Sesame Street News.
Hey, yeah.
Okay, you'll be Miss Piggy.
I don't know if I like that.
I know, right? So our schedule's been way off lately. We took a vacation, come back, was late getting that video out. Now we're late again, and we do apologize. Life brings all kind of twists and turns, and we have learned in our lives as the older we get to be a little more flexible and not sweat what we can't fix.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
Do what's within our power and not sweat the rest. Right?
That's right.
So we do apologize. Been kind of under weather. It's more my fault than anything. We've had some. We take 3 steps forward, and sometimes we have to take that step or 2 back. And so get one thing fixed, working pretty decent, another thing wants to break down on us. But it's okay. God's got it all in His hands.
Yep.
And we're just going to trust Him.
Yep.
And sometimes we get so upset about the potholes in the road that we forget the view. We like taking back roads. But you get on some back roads, and the roads are bad. They got potholes, ruts, washed out, and everything else. And we're worried about what it's doing to the suspension of the car, and our car's getting dirty and all that stuff. But sometimes we get so caught up in that we forget to look out the window because there's a beautiful view.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were in Arizona many moons ago with the boys,
Wow.
I'd say Daniel was probably his mid-teens. Jordan was maybe 8 or 9. Daniel was maybe 16, 17, something like that.
Yeah, they were pretty young.
Every year we used to go to Phoenix to visit Sal's folks, and we would rent a Lincoln Town car. That was our car of choice.
When we flew.
Yeah, we drove out a couple times, but when we flew out there, we always rented a big car because I'm a big guy, and if we're going to be tooling around Arizona for the week, we wanted to be comfortable. Plus, we could take our in-laws, Sal's parents, out when we go out to dinner and stuff. So we'd always rent like a big town car because their dad liked those, and I wanted to impress him. One year, though, they gave us a Chrysler LHS or something like that. It was a pretty nice car. But anyway, this was a town car, if I remember correctly. We decided to go a little off the beaten path to go sightseeing.
Oh, my gosh. I know what you're talking about now.
And we like taking roads, and when you're out west, it's just such a different terrain. I mean, here you get off the beaten road, you're still in hills and grass and field grass and trees and all that kind of stuff. You get out there, it's barren. Like, it's dirt and sandy dirt and the big saguaro. Wow, that's terrible. Saguaro cactus. Those cactus that look like this when one's arms up, one arm's down, kind of cactus. And by the way, they're protected out there. You better not get caught digging up one of those things or something like that. I mean, it's big juju out there if you do that. But you go out there and the terrain is just so different. And we went off the beaten path, and we were trying to get to somewhere. And you didn't have GPS on our phones back then. I think we had a TomTom with us or something like that, maybe, or maybe we had a map.
I think we used a map.
I think it was a paper map.
Yep.
And we thought this one road connected us to another highway, so we could see a little different part of the outside of the desert outside of Phoenix. We ended up on a road not marked that I don't think they've been on there since the wagon train left for Oregon. I mean, folks, if you could just see this road and how windy and awful and dirt. It was dirt. It wasn't even gravel. It was just dirt, and you could see where tire tracks of other vehicles had been there maybe in 1952 or something. I don't know. And we were driving, and we were just so taken aback, though, about what we were seeing.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
We saw some old cattle chutes that, they kind of had made out on the range kind of thing where they built this little chute, I guess, so they could load up, cattle trailers or something out there, I guess maybe when they were moving cattle through or something. Washouts from where water had washed out these big gullies, and we were trying to see if we could see any critters too, like sidewinder, rattlesnakes, and and lizards and all that. So we were looking for tarantulas are out there, scorpions, right, all kind of stuff you could see out there. And so we were just kind of fixated, and we got to laughing we got to laughing because we're on this road, and you should have seen what this Lincoln Town car looked like, because it was a black one. This thing was
So much
it looked like it was tan when we got
when
done.
we
It
were
had so
done.
much dirt on it.
Yeah.
We literally felt bad and took it to a car wash before we took this rental car back, right? Because it looked like we put it through Hades. But we were just so mesmerized by what we got to see, and the fact that had we not taken that road,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have got to see any of that.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Wasn't there a lake up there too? It was a beautiful lake with
Yeah, there was
like one of the valleys that actually had some green, and
once we got out more, that was close to more when we got out to near the highway. Finally, when we got out that way, there was a big there was a lake, and they had a place you could park and do all that. But it was really mesmerizing, and I know you're probably thinking, where are you going?
Where
with
are we
all
going
this,
with
right?
all this?
Well, we're actually going nowhere with that because we want to talk about goals. But before we turned the camera on, we were talking about goals and the fact that, we need to set goals. And how do we set them? And how do we, what do we do? But we also, when we were talking about goal setting, is also understanding that we don't have foresight of the future.
Right.
We should set goals, because if we don't set goals, then we're going nowhere, right? If you don't set goals, what one guy say, people who don't plan to be successful aren't, right? And people who don't set goals are 100% determined not to reach them, or guaranteed not to reach them if you don't set them. Yeah, that's what it was, right? People that don't set goals are 100% bound to not reach them. And of course, I think that goes all the way back to Zig Ziglar, kind of. I used to have I was a big Ziglar fan. He was a personal life coach, kind of. Hi, I'm Zig Ziglar. Yeah, I had a weird voice, right? I didn't do it very well. That sounded more like Clinton. Hi, my name's Bill Clinton. I'm friends with Zig Ziglar. He told me to tell you
Stop.
that if you don't set your goals, you're 100% sure not to reach it. Back to you, Zig. Anyway, so just thought I'd throw that in. So let's talk about goals a little bit, right? So, what's funny is I always start out with definitions when I'm thinking about a topic, right? So I know what I think a goal is, but what does Merriam-Webster say? Was Merriam-Webster like Webster's wife, Miriam? Because wasn't his name first name wasn't Webster, right? It was something Webster. Webster was his last name. What is Miriam his wife?
I don't know, but
why do they call it Merriam-Webster?
You have ADD or something.
I know. So what is goal setting? Goal setting is the process of identifying something you want to accomplish and establishing measurable and specific objectives to achieve it. Goals are your desired results that you or your team are committed to achieving within a specific time frame. And so, I've been involved in management for many moons now. I mean, honestly, I was a road foreman by the time I was 19, going on 20, and so I've been in management for almost all my adult life, and learned a lot about goal setting, not only in the business world but also in the church world, right? The problem is before you even can think about setting goals, you got to think about, you got to look at goals incrementally. We got to have some lifetime achievement goals, right? We have to have, what do we ultimately want to achieve, right? And so that's a big lifetime goal. Those are out there, right? But then we have to set current, obtainable, goals.
Short term.
Yeah, short term, right? That are going to get us down the road where we want to be. But I'd be amiss to say that if we're setting lifetime goals and we're not asking God what He has for us, then our goals are probably never going to be attainable, or barely at best, and they may not be goals that actually bring us real peace in life.
Yeah.
And that bring us comfort and the joy that we really want to have in reaching goals, right? Now, some goals may be spiritual in nature, some may not, but do realize that everything we do in life, has a spiritual effect to it.
Right.
Even my career in HVAC, it has a spiritual element to it that, I'm finally in a place where God says, it's time for you to be done in that part of your life as far as the job that I'm in now. And gave me a different direction for life. I'm still doing HVAC, but I'm moving into a different capacity. It's hard when you have had a position that's kind of lofty that a lot of people know who you are. You obtain a certain status in life, and that when you show up, to dealer meetings, that you're recognized as someone, and that's that. I mean, let's face it, that all feels good to obtain that level.
Yeah.
But when God says, okay, this is what I want you to do now, if being the president of that company was my lifetime goal, then what do I do now?
Yeah. Have a choice.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I can say that I want to, my long-time achievement goals I want in my HVAC career, are to have left a mark on the next generation of technicians, to have left a mark on the customers that I deal with, whether it be, distribution, or whether it be a personal customer of Huff Mechanical or of the company that I contract to do consulting with, right? I mean, I can set lifetime achievement goals on what I want to achieve in my HVAC career, but still, leave room for God to move me where He wants me to be, right? Because I don't look at lifetime goals as saying I'm going to obtain a specific position in a company, as much as it is that the mark I want to leave on that business, and with my HVAC career, I want to, always have been learning and been up to date on the latest technology, so that I'm always advancing and not being one of those guys that gets left behind because he doesn't want to deal with that new stuff,
Yeah.
one of those kind of guys, right? So, there's a lot of ways to look at goals and lifetime goals. We want to, we wanted to be parents, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, so let's look at that goal for a minute. We wanted to be parents, but what kind of parents did we want to be? And I look back at some of the ways that I did our sons, and how tough I was on them on certain things. And I have to tell you that the parent that I know now that I really want to be wasn't the parent that I was acting at. I wasn't doing that, right?
Either.
And I wish that I would have looked at it earlier in life and say, this is what I want to leave as a legacy as a parent. This is what my lifetime achievement goal wants to be as a parent. A parent that has brought their child up in the fear and admonition of the Lord, that always used love as the motivator, that never disciplined out of anger, and one that led as an example, and that developed and maintained a godly relationship with our sons, that carried throughout their adult life and hopefully into the life of our grandchildren, right? I know that's my goal now, my lifetime achievement goal I want in the area of parenting, but I wasn't living like that.
No, I wasn't.
And so I wasn't setting those goals then. Now we look at our sons maybe grown and out of the house, but we're still parents. I mean, we can't give them the attention, which we could, right? We're not giving them demerits to do or punishing them or anything like that, but we still have influence in their lives, and we still have the influence to be able to help guide them in the right direction and be there when they ask for help, but also not want to be the hero that even sometimes the help is saying no, right?
Yeah.
And so we look at that goal much differently today. I wish we'd looked at it earlier in life. And so you can apply goal setting to any area of your life, whether it be your career, whether it be parenting. What about marriage?
Yeah, I was going to say relationships.
Yeah, in our relationships, we can set goals. One of our goals is to grow old together.
Yeah.
Right? And to do that, right, our goal is that we want to be able to live in such a way that we always have supported one another, and that we can grow old together and still have a viable relationship, that we can still be relevant, that we still are connected with one another, and that we haven't grown apart, and that we still enjoy being in each other's company. That's some of the things that we want for our life. Now, to do that, then we have to set, incremental goals too, right? We have to set daily, or maybe not daily goals, but we have to set real life in the moment goals, right? So one of those goals is that, when I do get upset, I'm going to take a breath, right? And I want to handle them in a godly way, unlike things I used to do in the past, right? And so we set those goals of how to treat our relationship and what we're going to do to make sure we keep that. Some people set a goal is that they're going to have a weekly date night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A weekly date night, and every quarter they're going to take an overnight. I know some people that do that. Like once a quarter, once every 3 months at least, they do an overnighter without children.
That's a good idea.
Right? And spend time together. And so that's a great thing, right?
Yeah, we need to adopt that.
We do.
Yeah.
And, but we live like we're empty nesters.
I
So we don't have to really go
It's
anywhere.
still fun to go away.
We leave Dash at home.
Yeah, that's our
Right.
Yeah, right.
One of our goals was, we wanted in our retirement to get a motorhome and to do some traveling. Well, in 2020, our lives were rocked by the word cancer. And so we didn't know what life was going to hold. And so we knew that we wanted to grow old and do that together. And so guess what we did?
About a motorhome.
We didn't get the one we wanted later in life because we didn't have the same amount of money. But we found a motorhome that was within our grasp, affordable. And we bought it. And we started doing some traveling. We haven't done much this year, but this year's been kind of different, and we got a big trip planned in November. So probably won't get to do much with her this year, but we'll get back at it because we enjoy traveling. That way.
Yeah.
It's a trip. It really is fun. Half the fun's just getting there.
Yeah.
Driving old Bessie down the road.
Yeah. It's relaxing.
Yeah. Sal gets to go pee anytime she wants and ain't got to stop.
Seriously, you had to mention that.
Well, that's kind of half the reason we got the drivable one. Right? So we don't have to stop for bathroom breaks.
It does make
It's
it
awesome.
convenient.
Right? So setting goals. And I know we're kind of being very broad in this, but there's it was a really good article on a website called mindtools.com, and it had a lot of the things that I've read in other places over the years. And one of the things is they use an acronym called SMART, right? So the first part is, when you're looking at setting goals, you need to have some visionary long-term goals. And those are great. We want to be healthy, right? We want to maintain our health with, diet and exercise. And to get healthy, we had to lose weight, or I had to lose weight, right? You had already started your health journey before mine, and so I set some incremental goals.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I have a big goal where I want to be.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but I had to set incremental goals along the way.
Right.
Right. And so I had this lifetime achievement goal of being still healthy in my old age and being able to get around, being mobile, right, and doing everything I can to be able to enjoy life, hopefully with grandkids and just be old together, right? But to do that, I had to make a life change, and I had to set some incremental goals because that's a long ways away.
Right.
Right? And how do I even get there unless I start now, right? And so we had to lose weight. I had to lose weight. And had to, really look at life a little bit differently. And so I set incremental weight goals. Because the one thing we have learned, and the one thing you learn about culture and society, especially young men, we're very goal-oriented. We like to win. Especially young men. Young men need to be able to win. And there's nothing that's more harmful to a young man than being tore down by his significant other. Right? Because this is the way men are built. And being able to get a win, especially for young men, is just really important. But even to this old man, it was still important because, setting that first goal is okay. My first goal is 25 pounds. And then when I hit it, it made the next 25 seem like obtainable. Because when I started off saying I got to lose 125, well, that's a lot. And it's going to take over a year. And
it gets overwhelming.
And it
if
just,
you look at it from that perspective.
If all that's overwhelming.
Right.
And listen, that's not even further out. I mean, I still got a long ways to go. Just getting rid of the weight's one thing. Having my foot fixed, got this shoulder thing going on, and I want to get back to doing my yoga. I mean, I want to build my strength up in my core. I mean, I still got a long way to go. But I had to get to where I could just move first, and I had to get weight off to do that.
Right.
Plus, I've had 2 surgeries since I started this whole thing, right? And so, been immobile for some of that because I wasn't able to really walk without assistance for over 8 months of that. So It was difficult. Yeah. So if I just thought about 125 pounds, I mean, you don't even want to start. You have a bad day, you fall off the wagon, you eat something you ain't supposed to, screw it, I'm never going to get there. So I set an incremental goal of 25 pounds. Yeah. And when I got to that 25 pounds, that felt good.
Yeah, but even you broke it down even more. So you did little things each day to get to that 25 pounds.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So some of the things that you did was you cut out sugar altogether. You started drinking more water. I noticed you drink a lot more water. You get your electrolytes in and everything, and you cut out dairy in your coffee. I mean, there were daily things that you could, and sometimes you go off your goal, but you have to get the short term, the daily goal. You get right back on because your short term goal is 25 pounds. Ultimate goal was 125. So you have to do it in steps and give yourself a break along the way. Realize that that's your goal, and that's what you need to keep your mindset forward on.
Yeah, and so we have our long-term goals, our big visionary goals, but then we have to set goals that are incremental, personal goals that's going to help us get us there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Instead of, because if you just say, well, I want to be healthy. Okay, well, that's pretty broad.
Yeah.
What does that even look like?
Yeah.
Right?
You have to break it down.
And what can I do now?
Right.
Right, along the way. And so create a big picture first, and then think about, take those large scale goals and start breaking them down into smaller targets that, that we can hit.
Mm-hmm.
That as long as we're hitting these smaller targets, it's going to help us hit the big target.
Right.
Right. And so with this mind tool, they use this acronym, and I've seen it before, right? It's called SMART. Now, SMART is an acronym that kind of, they give you kind of 2 words for each letter, kind of. So SMART starts off with S, right? Means specific or significant, right? So when you start setting these smaller incremental goals, that's the time to get specific. So if I want to be healthy out there, what do I do today? What can I do today?
Yeah.
Right? And what can I do that I know that is measurable and attainable? Because that's where the rest of the acronyms come in, right? So the first is specific, SMART. M is for measurable, right? Measurable or meaningful. A is attainable, right? So it needs to be specific, measurable, and attainable. And so just to say, okay, my goal is 125 pounds, well, that's a year and a half in the making, most likely. It's the way it's shaping out to be, right? So...
That's standard.
Right? So it's, I said right again. Try not to.
You'll be all right.
I can't help it.
It's okay.
Right? So there's no way that could be my incremental goal because it was just too far out. Right? So I need specific and measurable and attainable. And so in just losing that 25 pounds, the goal wasn't just to lose 25 pounds. The goal was to stop eating sugar first. Right, so I stopped eating sugar, and that's measurable.
Mm-hmm.
It's obtainable, right? And R is for relevant, right? So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and then T for time or trackable, right? So we were able to do that, right? Specific was to not only to lose 25 pounds, but first off, it was stop eating sugar and carbs, all carbs too.
Right.
But I really liked my coffee, and so we used heavy cream, right? Is that what you used, heavy whipping cream?
Yeah, we used half and half or heavy whipping cream.
But we had to use, I'm lactose intolerant, so we had to use that A2A or whatever. But so I liked my coffee, and I liked diet sodas and stuff. So I kept drinking the diet sodas and the coffee with the cream and stuff at first. And so we started with the sugar and the carbs. And so it was specific. It's something we could measure. We could look on, and see how I was doing. We could track it. It was very attainable. It was relevant because it needed to be. I needed to do. That's the path I needed to go.
In order to.
Right, and it was it was the time associated with it. Right.
You had to give yourself time.
I had to give myself time to get there. Work that up to where I was doing that daily, and it's certainly trackable as well as part of that team. Right, and then, we stepped it up. Then it became, okay, well, we took the cream out of the coffee because we found that was still giving me some stomach issues
Mm-hmm.
and was maybe slowing down some of the weight loss. And so we kept stepping up, the ramping up, if you will, to this big, larger goal that we had set.
Right.
But it started with 25 pounds, cutting out all sugar and carbs. And as we were getting toward that 25 pounds and we were off the we were off the sugar and the carbs. We then started to even say, okay, well, we're doing so well and we're moving toward that target. Let's shift gears and let's pull back away from the milk and the coffee and get used to that because it's slowing down my progress.
Right.
And so then we started to speed it up, and I hit that 25 pounds fairly quick.
Yeah. But you had to change your goal. I mean, you had to change
I had to shift
the
a little
process
bit, yeah.
a little bit. You couldn't just keep that goal of eating, just not eating carbs and sugar. You had to make an adjustment.
Yeah. And so then as we worked closer to 50 pounds and things were going, pretty good, the weight's kind of coming off fairly steady. Found that weighing ourselves every day is not the best idea. Every couple days, we kept seeing the weight come off, and so we were tracking things and and staying plugged in. And then my weight loss stalled, and we had to, I'd start thinking about why is my weight loss stalled? I've been doing all these things. So what is it that is in my daily life that I'm working these goals and that I met, these things are measurable, attainable, they're relevant, right? We're tracking them. And we started to look at smaller things because we were being so, what's the word you like to use? Intentional. Because we were being so intentional about this diet and about this goal of getting healthy, because my life was just at a place where I just had no quality of life with the pain levels and stuff. And the other thing it was too was, we went on a specific diet to help with the pain levels, and that was also trackable. Mm-hmm. And we saw the pain start to change and
subside a little bit. Yeah.
And that really helped propel me to keep going.
Yeah.
Had we not started and set goals and kind of got through those first, month or two, I don't know if I'd have stuck it out. But because we're able to see these changes happening and we're able to adjust, it was, better. And the fact that you were helping me do it was also great, because we were doing it together.
Yeah.
And you were helping me.
Yeah, I just didn't bring anything in the house.
Yeah, well, it worked. So we had to, the weight loss started to stall. And we're like, we go back to what I was eating, what I'm drinking, something don't make sense. And even though we were not eating sugar, I was not eating sugar and I was not eating carbs and not drinking sugar per se, we started to look at some of the things that I was using as a substitute for water because I just didn't really like water by itself. Started using some stuff called Stur, S-T-U-R, and it turns out it used stevia. And you've heard us talk about that before. And it turns out, like, okay, well, the only thing that changed was this stevia. So we took that back out and kept going with the plan, and guess what happened? The weight loss picked back up. That's what had stalled it. Mm. That happened 2 different times with 2 different things. So you got to watch it. That's a diet tip, but just because it says it has no sugar, these substitutes, sometimes your body doesn't know what to do with it, so it acts like it is sugar. It thinks it is, and it reacts the same way. And so kind of takes you back to being insulin resistant, all kind of crazy stuff that happens with that. So, by setting these incremental goals, we're getting to the end goal that we want to be at. And so that's just with our health. We talked a little bit about our parenting, about, my HVAC career. It's great to have these big goals out there, but always asking God, where do you want to take us? Same thing with our, especially the church. Probably should have talked about it first, right? Because it's the biggest part of our life. But, we know that God took us there, and I just always felt that that's probably the only church I'll ever pastor. I just won't ever see. And that doesn't mean I'll be there until I die, but I just don't ever see us not being the pastor of that church. And if we're not, then I believe we would be helping other pastors do stuff, right? Or, cheering them on somehow. Maybe that's what I'll do when we kind of, maybe are done with that season. I'm like, I don't know what God has. But, we always want to be faithful to God and serve wherever He has chosen for us. We met missionaries. Ken Cash was at our state meeting. Got to see him talk about the missionary work in Bulgaria that they're doing. But what's interesting about Ken and his wife, the Cashes, must be nice to have a last name Cash, right? I want cash. I'm right here, right? I think that's funny. Anyway, and he spoke at the National this year. He preached the Wednesday night mission service at the National Association meeting, and it was just phenomenal. He did a great job. But the beauty of that is they are 65 years old, being called to a different mission field. After all these years they've been in the States, they've served, they've pastored churches, and God's used them marvelous different ways. And now, at this stage of life, they're being called to the foreign mission field. And they're leaving their kids and grandkids to go do that.
Mm.
And they just thought they would never see the day where they would do that, but this is what God has for them. And so, off to Bulgaria. And so, we just got to be careful about our goals and that we set them with God in mind.
Mm-hmm.
That, our overall goals ought to be, especially when it comes to spiritual things, it ought to be about being pleasing to God and being where He wants us to be. That has to be first and foremost. Our goal has to always be about pleasing God before it even is about pleasing one another. Because there's been times that God has called us different places, and He didn't really give us both the same message at the same time, but we had to work through that.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to have our mind set and our heart set to be pleasing to God. But everything we do, especially in our relationship, we do it godly. And so when it comes time to talk these things out, we have to always, be mindful that we are being loving and do everything, in the spirit of love and not anger, and not get frustrated with one another. And all that's important to reach, to be able to reach that end goal of us being able to still be in our old age, still have a fire in our bellies for one another, still, have a close relationship and being able to talk and actually still enjoy being together. I see some old people and they just yell at each other all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I don't think they love one another, but it's like they haven't done what it needs to be to keep their relationship, vibrant, and viable. And that has to be a goal that we have to have. And so setting goals, is important. And so I love this acronym. And I'll if I remember, I'll try to put the link to this article in the description where you can go, and it talks about setting these, SMART goals to be able to reach our overall big picture lifetime goals, right? But they also gave some further tips as well for goals, right? And they said this: make sure when you're stating your goals, state them as a positive statement, not a negative. I thought that was kind of good.
Yeah, that's good.
Right?
It's a good idea.
We don't want to set our goal as, well, I don't want to be this. A lot of people can state what they don't want to be. Well, what do you want to be? Me and my dad didn't get along when I was a teenager. I don't want to be like you. What do you want to be? I don't know, but it ain't you. But that just goes to show that I was just angry about something, and that I didn't even understand who my dad was until I grew up a little and matured. So it's, sometimes we just think about the things we don't want to be. Well, quit thinking about that and quit thinking about think about what you want to be. Because that's a goal you can really hit. Right? Not being something, that's just shallow. It's not going to get you where you want to be, right? Also, when you're setting goals, be as precise as you can. Maybe even put some target dates on there for yourself to keep yourself motivated. And if something happens and you can't make that, now I'm not talking about giving yourself excuse, but if you have a legitimate issue that happened or a curveball thrown at you, then be flexible enough to say, okay, I didn't reach that goal. Be honest about it. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a second swing at this. You know what happens when somebody throws you a curveball? You swing as hard as you can. And if you miss, you put that bat back up on your shoulder and
you wait for the next pitch.
You wait for the next pitch, right? Also prioritize things. Set priorities. Not every goal could be the top goal. You do have to set priorities in life, because there's going to be some things that may take you away from something, or something may change, and you're going to have to readjust. So set priorities. Right? Write things down. That's always a good one.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to set a goal in your mind. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut down all sugar. But I didn't write it down. Didn't tell anybody. I don't have anybody to hold me accountable. I just said I'm going to do it. And if I don't do it, nobody knows. No shame in that. I'm like, well, no big deal. Easy come, easy go. So not only write them down, and I don't necessarily know that I didn't write all ours down, but we certainly talked them through and we actually set steps together. And so we do have accountability on one another in our goals, and I think that's important with your partner, right? Set performance goals, not outcome goals. I think that's kind of good, right? In some instances, right? It says you should take care to set goals over which you have as much control as possible. It can be quite dispiriting to fail to achieve a personal goal for reasons beyond your control. In business, these reasons could be bad business environments, unexpected effects of government policy. In sports, they could include poor judging, bad weather, injury, or just plain bad luck. If you base your goals on personal performance, then you can keep control over the achievements of your goals and draw satisfaction out of it.
And I think raising kids would be a good example of that. If you set your goal to be a biblical mother and you do the best to raise your kids, they're all different and they're going to react differently, and you can't judge all the time how they're going to react to things, but you can hold yourself accountable and do the right things as you go.
Like if you set a goal, well, I'm not going to raise my voice to my child, but your child's getting ready to stick their finger in an electric socket.
Right.
You're going to raise your voice.
Right.
Right. So, you got to set things that are realistic and also make sure there are things that you can actually achieve and have control over.
Yeah.
You don't have control over the weather or what other people do. And so, even in business, even when inside a company, a lot of people do goofy things and it changes everything, right? But it doesn't have to change who I am. And my personal goals of making sure that, I close out all my tickets every day, that I return all the phone calls, that, all the voicemails, make sure I reply to all the emails, right? So I set these goals that, are going to help me achieve what I want to be. Now, can somebody throw me under the bus or something happen and get screwed up? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But I can still go at it, right?
Yeah.
So,
You don't quit.
Yeah, we just don't. Sometimes people get so easily discouraged by things that are outside of their control.
Yeah.
Your goals ought to be things that you should be able to obtain.
Right. Not
something that requires somebody else to obtain. Things that you can obtain and that you have control of. And when you achieve a goal, here's the thing, enjoy it. Right? Take a moment.
Celebrate.
That's the beauty of setting goals.
Yep.
We hit 25 pounds. Yes, we're going to celebrate. And so we're going to eat a piece of cake.
Yeah. No.
We did not, by the way. We did not. No, but we did celebrate.
Yeah.
And you made me feel like $1 million. As I've been hitting goals, you've really done amazing to cheer me on. It's really appreciated.
You did that for me every step of the way as I was going through mine.
And it's and it's good to take that time and make that announcement that I met this goal. And so right now I've been in a personal time of having to go back and look at what I'm doing because I've stalled again, and I can't. I'm 2 pounds away of hitting another goal, and I've been 2 pounds away for 3 weeks.
Frustrating.
Pick up 2 pounds, lose 2, still can't get to that last 2.
But you don't quit.
Pick up 3, lose 5, and then I'm still back there at that 2. And we're just staying at it, but we know we had to go back and look. What am I doing different? What am I eating different? We've had I've had some difficult things. I had to hit steroids a couple times the last couple months. Steroids always jack your system up, and it certainly doesn't do well with your weight and some other things. And I'm not quitting, not going to give up, but we did have to kind of go back and look and see, okay, and what we're doing. Why are we kind of why has this goal been, the last 2 pounds, been so hard to hit? And take a look at, what I'm drinking, making sure we're not using, added, fake sugar stuff. And also looking at eating times.
Yeah, eating times are big.
Eating times, changing up a little bit.
We like to snack. Once we finally sit down for the evening, we like to snack on walnuts or something, but that even that's not.
And find that sometimes we still have a habit of snacking even when we're not hungry.
Yeah.
And so doing better at eating at meals and eating until you're full, so that you don't want that later, right? So there's, we've been working through that. And when we hit that goal, we're going to celebrate.
Yeah.
We're going to celebrate. Go to one of our favorite restaurants, IHOP. It's one of my favorite because they got the Colorado omelet. It ain't nothing but eggs, cheese, and meat. You gotta love that, and all kind of meat. They got sausage in there. 2 different kinds of pork actually. They got different sausages and pork and bacon and ham and more bacon and cheese and eggs.
I think they get it.
And a carb one. El Novo Carbo. Well, the pancakes do. If you don't eat them, you don't get no carbs. And if you get gluten free, it's only a poquito. A poquito. That means little.
Okay.
Right? Also, it says if you achieve the goal too easily, then make the next goal harder. The thing is, we can't make goals for anybody. We can't really give specifics for what you to do in your life. But at some point in our lives, we really have to sit down and say, who, at the end of the day, I mean, think about writing your own epitaph. At the end of the day, when you're in a box and people are looking over top of you, now they're going to say nice things about you if they don't like you because that's what they do when you pass. But the people who really knew you, what do you want them to know about you? What would you feel good going to your grave knowing that you accomplished? Who do you want that person to look like? What do you want that person to have done? What do you want them to have achieved? What do you want them to have experienced in life? What kind of husband or wife was that person? What kind of parent was that person? What kind of coworker?
Yeah. How did you affect their life?
What kind of Christian were they? Just what kind of neighbor were they? Think about what you want them to say, and mean it honestly, and then start forming your goals from there. Because I think that we forget that our life has an expiration date on it.
It does.
And we've learned that all too difficultly here in the last several years. And it's a hard thing to think about, but the older we get, the more we realize that we just had. I had someone that I went to high school with. I had someone that you went to high school and college. You went to college? No, just high school. But you knew her all your life, actually.
I've known her all my life.
But these 2 people passed, and we hadn't had contact with either one of them in years. And you were closer to your friend than I was. I was just a high school buddy, but to know that these people passed at our age. And who was around them, and I certainly know that in those years I was not sharing Christ with anybody.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
And so I hope someone did share Christ with them. I hope that they knew Christ, and that makes me think about my goals and what I really want, a lasting legacy that I want to leave.
Yeah.
I've got some buddies that think I'm a pretty nice guy, but am I showing them Christ? It's just something that we got to really consider.
Yeah.
Because I know one of my goals is to leave a lasting legacy of what it's like to be a godly man. And to hopefully live in such a way that people would want to know my Jesus.
Yeah.
So
it's a good goal, babe.
So set goals. Set big lifetime goals. Set incremental goals to help you get there. To be the person you want to be. And when you fall down, get back up, brush yourself off, be honest with yourself, don't make excuses.
And don't blame it on somebody else.
Don't blame it on somebody else, and just say, okay, I'm going to pick back up here. I might have to move this date out a little bit because I missed it, but I'm going to reset a date, and I'm going to go back after it.
Yeah. And
reach those goals.
Here's the thing, if you do the best you can each day, sometimes your best is different on different days. Sometimes your best is wow. And other days, not so much. But if in your heart you know you've done your best, you can lay your head down at night and know that you've done your best. God will do the rest. You don't have to, you can't do anything else. You can only do what's put in front of you that day. And don't look in the past. If you messed up, start over again the next day. Yep. Start on that goal again the next day. I mean, there's been times where I've messed up. As a parent, as a mom, in my lifetime goals, my lifetime desires, I messed up. And if I were to sit here and just look back on that and worry about that, then I'd never be able to accomplish it. But if you take each day individually and you do your very best to accomplish that goal, whatever that is, even if you mess up, get up the next day, move forward, and you'll feel better. But when you don't move forward and you just stop, then your life becomes miserable.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully you'll look at life a little different.
Yeah.
Set goals.
Yeah. Keep going. Don't give up.
And throw a party when you reach them.
That's right.
Right? Even if it's just a party between you and your other. Throw a party.
That's right.
Set goals. Be the person that you want to be.
Yeah.
Don't just dream about it, wishing I could be that person. Be it.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody stopping you but you. Right? I remember one guy used to say, ain't nothing between me and you but air and opportunity. He was daring me to fight, though. Probably not a good idea.
No. That was a good statement until you
But it was
said
good,
that.
though, wasn't it?
Until you said that
Yeah,
last
ain't
part.
nothing between me and you but air and opportunity. Ain't nothing between you and your goals but air and opportunity. Get started. Be the person you want to be and quit wishing you were somebody else.
Yeah.
Be it. Set the goals. You can do it. You can get there.
My favorite word, be intentional.
Intentional. Every day.
Yeah.
Live intentionally every day.
Yeah.
Let's pray out. Father, we love you. Lord, we just thank you for this day that you've given us. Lord, we thank you for your love. Lord, the strength that you give us, Lord, to live each day. Some days Lord, are filled with joy and gladness, and some days can be some kind of tough, but we know that even in the tough moments, that joy is there if we'll look for it. Father, we just pray that you help folks, Lord, as they truly search their hearts about who it is that not only they want to be, but who is it that you made them to be.
Yeah.
Father, I pray that you help them become just that.
Yeah.
That maybe today that they'll write something down, they'll set a goal, and they'll start striving to live in that direction of who you really called them to be. Lord, we just thank you for your love. Thank you for your forgiveness, Lord, that you keep giving us every day. Lord knows you know we need it. And so we thank you for it. Lord, be with our friends and our family and our loved ones. And Lord, I just pray whoever hears this video, that you will bless them and you will help them and give them the strength so that they can reach their goals. Lord, we love you. We pray this in the name of your beautiful Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
See you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.